Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, living beneficiaries, to the show for living beneficiaries, the House of Hidalgo show on the Estate Radio Network. Prepare for the most educational 60 minutes on all of radio with your host, Rick Hidalgo. The House of Hidalgo show can be followed on Twitter or Facebook by searching House of Hidalgo. Find the show on the web at www.therockofsalem.org. Sign up for the newsletter, and while you're there, take the 5-question survey to let us know what you think. The Estate Radio Network is part of the Blog Talk Radio family of networks and can be found at www.blogtalkradio.com/South Dakota DP. Join the show now by chat or call 619-639-4605. Don't forget to dial 1 to get in the queue. Here's your host, Rick Hidalgo! All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rick Hidalgo. I, of course, am the host of the House of Hidalgo show on the Estate Radio Network, which is found at theestateradionetwork.com, and our other website, therockofsalem.org. And it's another beautiful day here in South Dakota. Be frank with you, it's been an up and down day for me, but God is good. We'll just keep moving forward. Today we got a very special subject. We're going to be on with Doc Marvin. Doc Marvin is very humble fella. I'm going to call him in here in just a second. And he's, this is our second installment of Business Mondays, which we get different businesses to come on and discuss different aspects of their particular companies or different products or services that they offer. Well, today our focus is on a revolutionary new system that is taking, excuse me, I'm a little bit discombobulated today, but it is lowering oxidative stress levels in your body by 40% in 30 days. And Doc Marvin's going to come on, and he's going to discuss that with us in just a moment. But before I bring him on, I want to bring on my co-host for today, special Monday co-host, Todd Foster from Cancel the Cabal. Todd, are you with me?
I am. How's everybody doing today?
Doing great. I appreciate you coming on with your willingness to engage in the conversation about health and wellness. And on this second Business Monday. So thanks for that, Todd. I'm going to go ahead and give our guest a call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bring him in
I think it's going to be a fascinating conversation.
Absolutely.
Hello.
Hello, Doc. Hello, Doc Marvin. How are you?
Fine.
This is Rick Hidalgo, host of the House of Hidalgo show, and we are live. I just wanted to welcome you in. I do have a good friend of mine, Todd Foster. He's going to be co-hosting today.
Good.
Hi, Doc. How you doing?
And
I'm doing fine.
We'd like to get started with the conversation by just getting a little bit of your background and history. Find out what's Doc Marvin been up to all these years.
Well, I graduated from pharmacy school and pre-med from the University of Kansas School of Medicine. I took both courses simultaneously. And following that, the next week after graduation, I went into medical school, University of Kansas, graduated from medical school, was in private practice for about 19 years in western Kansas, delivered 2,000 babies, did the regular country doctor routine, and then they asked me to come back to the university and teach family medicine at the University of Kansas, and which I subsequently did. And then after 5 years of that, I went into private practice here in the city, and I was subsequently recruited to be chairman of the family medicine, community medicine, and geriatric medicine at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Following that, I did that, I can't tell you how many years now, several years, and then I came back to Kansas City and practiced and retired after doing what we call locum tenens for 17 more years. Locum tenens is to stand in place of, it's Latin for that. And what I did, I had licenses in about 13 or 14 states, and I would go and run a practice for a doctor who was ill, or one doctor wanted to take his wife around the world for their 25th wedding anniversary, and I did his practice during the month he was gone. I stood in place of doctors in their practice all over the United States. So I was in the military, too, as a physician, but I didn't mention that. 3 years in the Air Force.
Excellent. Now, Dr. Marvin, we've all been intrigued by a certain piece that we've seen that was put together by ABC News concerning a product that is lowering oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days. I know that you've done a lot of work with that product, and I would like you to introduce us to this.
Well, I have put closer to 15,000, 12 to 15,000 people on this, and in all walks of life and all ages. The youngest I ever put in on this product was a 3-week-old infant, the oldest a 98-year-old woman. Now, you see, I was never taught anything in medical school about nutrition. And that's the general rule, except for 2 medical schools. One, University of Arizona, with Andrew Weil, who's a Harvard graduate internist that does nothing but alternative medicine. So they teach that to the medical students. The other one is the Loma Linda Medical School in south of L.A., and they teach nutrition. In fact, a lot of other graduates, when they get their MD degree, also get a master's in nutrition. Now, that's much different than the rest of the 118 medical schools in the United States. For example, my medical school, all of the nutritional education I received was my senior year, which consisted of a 15-minute talk making fun of vitamins, minerals, and supplements. And that's by and large the average. So when you approach a doctor with something that's a supplement, and it's not a drug, it is non-toxic, so it does not have to go through the FDA, they think it's a scam, most cases. I myself do not try to recruit doctors. I work with their patients and then have them go back and tell their doctors what results they got. That's, to me, the best way to do it. So that's the way my modus operandi is. It's harmless, has no drug interactions, has no toxicity. So I give it without any qualms or anything, and I've seen unbelievable results. It's the only NRF2 activator, which is a transcription factor, that allows the body to activate its own intracellular antioxidants. And they're the ones that your body uses best, the ones your body makes. Not taking oral antioxidants is not the answer. That works on a 1-to-1 basis. 1 milligram of your antioxidant, like vitamin C, vitamin E, alpha lipoic acid, and CoQ10, milligram per milligram of free radicals. Whereas a NRF2 activator, and we have the only one available in a practical basis, 1 milligram neutralizes 1 million free radicals per second. And that stays in your cells about 14 days. So that's where I'm coming from. It's harmless. It doesn't interact with anything, again, I'll repeat, because I get asked that probably 40 times a week. I'll tell a person it does not react with any medications. The next question, well, what about this drug? What about that drug? What about that drug? I just told them it does not react with any of them. So that's kind of an overview. I haven't seen anything like it ever. I'd keep taking it if I was able to talk, I'd still be telling people about it.
Doc, it sounds like you've got quite a diverse background. I want to ask you a question. Do you think it would be fair to say that most doctors nowadays are basically compartmentalized pharmaceutical salesmen?
Absolutely. I know that from the pharmacy side and the medical side both.
Right. And I hear what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Right.
You what?
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yep, it is. It is that way. No question about it.
Right. Yeah.
It's simply because the medical schools tell them it's a scam. Supplements are a scam. But you see, in the United States, you cannot say that anything cures any disease or affliction that isn't a drug. That's against the law. You cannot make a statement. Now, the big problem with that, the politicians don't face. I ask you in your audience, how do you cure scurvy? You cure scurvy with vitamin C. Everybody knows that. That's had at least 2 days in medical school. You know that. Yet, that's illegal for me to tell you. Pellagra. How do you cure pellagra? Vitamin B2. But that's illegal to say that. Because they're neither one drugs, they're both supplements. They're both nutritional elements. My dad had beriberi and was within 4 or 5 days of dying, and he had every drug known to creation at the time. And luckily, a man who'd been trained in a medical school in Vienna, Austria, came back to his practice in the same hospital my father was, took one look and told my mother, and my mother and I were standing there waiting for him to die. He was comatose. He said, I will be back. An hour later, he come back with something called vitamin B1, thiamine hydrochloride. He gave my father about 1,000 milligrams, and he woke up.
Wow.
6 days later, he left the hospital and went back to farming. Now, he'd taken every drug that was known to creation that had any possibility of helping him. He was paralyzed in a coma from beriberi. The only cure for beriberi is vitamin B1, but it's illegal for me to tell you that. That's the situation we're in these United States, and believe me, it's all about money.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
You may not want to hear it, but that's the truth.
Yeah, it seems as though the pharmaceutical industry has taken over the pharmaceutical industry has heavily lobbied the legislative body, including making laws that affect the FDA, et cetera, in order to create a monopoly for the pharmaceutical industry.
Right. Yep, and I know it as a pharmacist. I saw it from both sides of the fence. And it isn't going to change because money is too powerful. But that's still true. And my father would not be alive if he hadn't been treated with vitamin B1. And he lived probably I haven't counted, but about 48 years after that, and lived a very full life as a farmer, working hard, 8 to 12 hours a day, due to vitamin B1. And the reason he had that beriberi was he had diabetes, and he was put on a super strict diet and an experimental drug at the time called insulin. But he was put on such a severe diet, he became vitamin B1 depleted and was dying from the treatment, dying from the diet. Now, well, I didn't know at the time I was 8 years old. And when I finished medical school, by that time I knew exactly what had happened to my dad and was very, very humbly thankful to this doctor that, thank God, went to Vienna to have further education, and over there they educated him in supplements and vitamins and etc. Because it was not involved with any of the contingencies that are around here. He went to Vienna and was over there, I think, for 3 years in education as a neurologist. And he come back and he cured my dad with one shot. And probably an hour at the most, hour and a half for the effects to take completely well. My dad told me later it was like my body was on fire. He was coming alive again. Now, I just told you all that. It's not a rabbit trail, but it gives you an idea of what we're faced with when we deal with supplements, vitamins, minerals, and supplements. My entire education in the University of Kansas School of Medicine was my senior year, which consisted of a 15-minute talk making fun of vitamins, minerals, and supplements. Making fun of vitamins, minerals, and supplements.
Right.
That's the whole message, and it hasn't changed.
Do you think that that's the case, Doc, because of the influence that the pharmaceutical industry has on the medical schools due to the fact that they provide a large amount of the funding for these schools?
Oh, yeah. I'm so sure of it. I'm as sure if I jump out of a 10-story window, I'm going down. That's how sure I am. The only thing that's more sure than gravity is greed.
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah, that's the only thing that beats gravity.
Yeah, greed is a very powerful force in this world.
Yeah, right. And, you know, they asked John D. Rockefeller Sr., how much money does it take to make a man happy? And he said, well, I know that. So they called a press conference, had all these people around the microphone. They were going to broadcast it coast to coast. And they finally said, well, sir, he was up in years. He said, now we're all ready to take notes and we got your recording going. What do you want to tell us? How much does it take to make a man happy? How much money does it take to make a man happy? He said, well, just a little bit more.
Yeah.
No matter how much he's got, he'll be happy when he has just a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, that's very fitting. Well,
and, you know, that's why people lose everything they've got in these casinos.
Sure.
They may have won $10,000, but boy, 15 would look better, and wow, maybe 20. They end up with zero, and they drove out in a $30,000 car and come back from Las Vegas in an $85,000 bus.
Right. Now, Doc Marvin, I've been doing a lot of research, and I've gone to PubMed.gov and looked up all kinds of information, and you know, I'm very fascinated with the science, and I wonder, in a world like we have today, where we have all these disasters like Fukushima and Chernobyl before it, and I'm sure more to come because you know, that stuff isn't stable like they propose it to be. As we as we move forward, I mean, things like this, and I know you're not allowed to say what it does and what it doesn't do in that aspect, but as we move forward, as we're in this battle for, fighting off all these free radicals, how useful is something like this to that battle?
Absolutely fantastic. That's the answer. Dr. Joe McCord worked 42 and a half years to make an NRF2 activator, which is what we're talking about, that had never been done before. You see, if you go on to PubMed.gov, which is, by the way, for people that don't know, it's the NIH, the National Institute of Health website for doctors, information for doctors. So you can go on there and test out the papers that have been printed on new drugs that are being sold, or the drug rep comes and rather than to believe everything the drug rep says, and I have a lot of friends that are drug reps, don't get me wrong, but rather than to take it on point blank venture, because you're dealing with people's lives. And drugs have to be toxic to be a drug. That's one thing you need to know. If you wanted to put a supplement through the FDA, it would flunk the first of 4 tests. It has to show toxicity and have an LD 50. That means a lethal dose 50. In other words, you put 100 mice here and you give a certain amount to them, 50 die. Okay, that's an LD 50. Right. It has to, before it progresses through the...
Oh, did I lose him?
I don't know if he's there. Doc, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here.
I don't know. We lost you there for a second.
Okay.
Go ahead. You were. Just
I'll repeat what I said. I'll repeat what I said. As I said, all drugs are toxic by requirement of the federal government. All drugs have a toxicity, or they're rejected as a drug. Now, supplements don't need to go through the FDA because, by and large, all of them are safe. They have no toxicity. Now, in our striving to have stronger and stronger drugs, let me tell you where that leads and why supplements is something you should be open to and cognizant of. This last year, 2012, for the first time, cancer went around heart disease and stroke as the leading cause of death. Now, cancer is number 1. When I graduated from medical school, it was number 8. And we had a war on cancer, which is what President Nixon did, $40 billion. And during that war we waged against cancer, cancer went from 8 to 2, second leading cause of death. Who won that $40 million fight? Cancer. Why? They were looking for a drug for cancer. Looking for a drug for cancer. Okay, so last year, cancer became number 1. Heart disease and stroke became number 2. But no one ever asked me, what's number 3? Well, let me tell you what's number 3, and you can verify this on the AMA site or John Hopkins site or wherever you want to look it up. The third leading cause of death in these United States is prescription drugs, rightly diagnosed and rightly prescribed. That's the third leading cause of death. It's equivalent to 2 747s crashing every day for a year. 180,000 people die a year from drugs, rightly diagnosed and rightly prescribed. My whole effort is to get people as healthy as I can by not using drugs. Ayurvedic medicine or supplements or herbs, or like Max Gershom did in 1941, where he was curing all kinds of diseases, but got his hospital closed in Southern California because he was using unconventional ways of treatment. They closed his hospital. He now has his hospital. He's been dead for several years. His daughter runs it in Mexico. The clinic is in Southern California, and his hospital is in Mexico. Why? It's not allowed to do that here. Okay? Now, the third leading cause of death is prescription drugs. A lot of people don't know that. Now, let's take that analogy I drew. 2 747s crashing every day for a year would be 180,000 people. How long do you think 747s would be flying? They would be grounded the second day.
Right.
They would be absolutely grounded by the federal government, FAA, in one day. How many drug companies are shut down because their drugs will do that? Zero. None.
Right. Yeah, they have a massive influence on the powers that be due to the amount of money they bring in and the amount of control and influence they have. And I also heard, Doc, I heard another statistic or statement, if you will, that more people die per year from pharmaceuticals than all of the deaths from illegal drugs combined.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No question. No question. That's just a proven fact that people never get exposed to.
Right.
180,000 is the rough number, latest number that's been reported of people dying from prescription drugs rightly diagnosed and rightly prescribed. I had a very dear friend. My wife and I had a lady that was a friend for years. She was 83 years old. Some doctor said, I'm going to try something new on you. In 3 days, she was dead. Yeah, it's a new drug. Give me the old stuff. Give me the other drugs, the ones that have been tested and eventually taken off the market. Yeah, I don't want those. Look at how many drugs are taken off the market every year. They don't have sufficient testing before they're doing it. We're human guinea pigs in many cases. Now, I'll probably get in trouble telling you that. But anyhow, it's true. It's only the truth that hurts.
It is true.
It is true.
You know?
Yeah, I've said that many
That's
times.
right.
Well,
So,
you know, Doc, the one thing that I try to tell people is that the human body is a biological machine, if you will, that needs the proper nutrients in order to function properly and survive consistently and remain healthy. And what people don't realize is that when you put pharmaceuticals into a biological machine, when you look at pharmaceuticals as chemicals that are forced that are designed to force the body to do something that it was not naturally designed to do, you're going to have not only major problems, but you're going to often have death.
you see, I've never seen anybody die from a drug deficiency. I've seen them die from a drug excess. But, you see, my old professor of internal medicine said to me, Norman, if you ever give a patient more than 8 prescription drugs at one time, either your diagnosis is wrong or your treatment's wrong. I've never forgot that. I have talked to people taking 17 prescription drugs, 20 prescription drugs. The most was 42.
Wow.
Now, how does that fit in your body? It's amazing. There isn't a mushroom cloud above your head.
Right.
You know? It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Because your body wasn't made
Doc
for that.
Marvin?
Yeah.
Doc Marvin, what I'd like to do is take a quick little 3-minute break, and after the break, I'd like you to get into maybe some of the ingredients, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be right back.
Sure.
Do you have hopes, dreams, and goals, but don't know how to reach them? Do you wonder how you could do differently to achieve greater success at home or at work? Do you feel like something is holding you back from enjoying your life to the fullest? Are you fed up with status quo and ready for real and lasting life change? Are you wanting to start a business or expand an existing one? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then you are ready for life coaching with Mr. Attitude. Mr. Attitude will stretch and grow you and take your life to a whole new level of success by equipping you with the tools to help you to accomplish more in less time, get and keep your priorities in line, gain greater happiness and joy, face your fears, plan for success, be more assertive and confident, overcome negative stress, deal with negative thinking, set goals you will achieve, and more. Mr. Attitude specializes in results producing. Life strategy coaching for the personal side of your life, small business coaching for those who want to start a small business or build a stronger small business, train the trainer coaching for those who aspire to become a motivational professional speaker. Call today and reserve your appointment with greater success. 605-450-1955. That's 605-450-1955. Or email Bob at MrAttitudespeaks.com. That's MrAttitudespeaks.com. Mr. Attitude is committed to your success. Are you tired of going back to the local store for those common household items you can never remember to pick up? Maybe like me, you find it just more convenient to shop from your PC. Well, there's a new store in your neighborhood that ships your everyday needs to your door. Go to 425store.com and experience the power and service of a small family-owned business. That's 425store.com. Experience the power. Are you looking for a way to increase energy, increase mobility, and stay looking and feeling young? Did you know that according to PubMed.gov, many health problems today derive from oxidative stress, and this synergistic proprietary blend lowers 40% of oxidative stress in just 30 days. If you're not curious by now, you should also know this synergistic proprietary blend is being researched by 33 outside medical university laboratories. That's simply unheard of today. If I've piqued your curiosity, go to therockofsalem.org and click the free info tab on top. That's therockofsalem.org and learn more today. All right, we're back on the House of Hidalgo show. This is your host, Rick Hidalgo. I am on with a co-host of the day, my VIP co-host, that's Todd Foster. And we have Doc Marvin on with us as well. And Doc Marvin has been talking about this product that you just heard a little ad for. It's a synergistic proprietary blend that it decreases oxidative stress by 40% in just 30 days. And there's a lot of info on it on PubMed.gov. And you can go there and research. There's just thousands and thousands of papers, isn't there, Doc?
Oh, there's around 114 to 116,000 papers on oxidative stress. Now, the last 7 years, around 80% of those have been published. They're coming fast and furious. I've been involved with this product, this combination of herbs, for about 2 years and 3 months. And when I got in, there were 90,000. There's now 114 to 116,000 papers. Now, the reason why most people haven't heard about oxidative stress is the cause of aging, which is resting from the inside out. It's what causes you to age. The reason you haven't heard about it, there's been nothing that would decrease oxidative stress. Nothing. Therefore, you haven't heard it advertised, because you don't advertise something that has no financial benefit to anybody if you use it. Well, that's why you haven't heard about oxidative stress. But oxidative stress is what produces your rate of aging. That's been proven by 33 labs outside of the company that makes this. So that's pretty good validation. And by the way, the only thing in your drugstore or hospital that's been used for as long a time as these 5 herbs, get that? The only thing that's in your hospital and pharmacy that has been used as long as these 5 herbs have been used in humans is water. Water.
Wow.
This has been used from 2,000 to 4,000 years. There's nothing but water in your drugstore that's been sold that long. Not aspirin, nothing. Water.
Wow.
Now, that's a pretty good history. So it's safe. I had a doctor call me from Florida once and says, well, you know, before I take this, I want to know, a lot of drugs you see on the market, after about a year or two, enough people have taken them, they take it off. How long has these things been used in humans? I said, only 2,000 to 4,000 years. You could hear him suck in air and go, like that. He was shocked because he's not used to seeing anything that's isn't still warm off the experimental table. So
yes,
that's how it is, and this is safe. I've given it to a 3-week-old infant. You think I'd do that? There's 29 medical schools doing research on it with their own money. That's never happened with one product in one medical school.
Yeah, you certainly couldn't give
right.
any type of pharmaceutical to a 3-month-old.
Oh, no, I sure wouldn't. Not something that's proven to be toxic.
Right, right.
How many times, I have some friends that I've talked to recently that are physicians, and they said, you know, anymore, we give a person one drug and we have to give them 2 or 3 others to counteract the undesirable effects of what we don't want in that first one. Does that make sense?
Right.
Did I miss something in medical school? That the treatment has to be counteracted with 3 more toxic principles? Now you got 4 toxic things going in your body. I must have missed something along the way. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
That sounds like the theory.
You know,
the theory that they use. Yeah.
The definition of insanity, everybody should know and be reminded every day. It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. That is the absolute definition stated by Albert Einstein of what insanity really is.
That's right.
Yes.
So, you know, that's just the way we're doing it. And I have people tell me, well, I don't think I want to take anything that's one of these supplements. I said, why? Well, because I'm on this medication and my doctor said it was so good. I said, how long have you taken it? 4 years. It only costs about $1,200 a month. And I said, are you better now than you were 4 years ago? No, I'm getting worse, Doc. It's awful. I said, well, why don't you wake up and say one thing to yourself in front of a mirror? How's that working? How's that working? I ask people that all the time. How's that working for you? If it's working good, go right ahead. If it's not working so good and you're getting worse as you've got everything mortgaged to pay for, you know, where are you coming from? Don't you think you ought to try Plan B or something else, or go Mayo Clinic or something like that and get a second opinion? I refer a lot of people to second opinion. Let me tell you why. I had a person that called me because he was gaining weight. And I said, why? See, I used to do a radio show here routinely called What's Up, Doc? And on that show, I would tell people common, everyday remedies that would help them, herbs and otherwise. Well, you see, I have people now that call me and say, I can't do this because I've got to take this other medicine. Well, I said, how's your condition? Well, I'm now in a wheelchair and I was walking. And I said, how long you been taking this? 5 years. I said, did you ever think about getting a second opinion? Now, you know, you got to get a meaningful second opinion. I heard of a psychiatrist here in Kansas City that his patient said to him, Doctor, I want a second opinion. He said, okay, you're ugly. You don't want that kind of a second opinion. So,
oh boy,
you wanted me to talk about these ingredients?
Yes, I'm just fascinated by the fact that that the ingredients of this proprietary blend is so simplistic that it almost makes your head spin.
Well, let me tell you, here's something to write down. In life, as an old country doctor, I can tell you one thing. Things are awful simple or simply awful, one of the two. And we have that in every walk of our life, and particularly in our health care. It's either awful simple or simply awful. And that's what you got to keep between. You know, you got to get between those two. Now, this proprietary blend consists of 5 herbs. These herbs have been given for centuries, 2,000 to 4,000 years. Now, when Dr. McCord put this blend together, he put it in such a way that was synergized. And that's what makes it so powerful. It makes it 1,800 times more effective because he worked 42 and a half years making it so it would synergize each other. Because you see, the ingredients here normally aren't absorbed much more than 1%. The first one I'd mention is milk thistle. Now, I had a lady call me and said, I can't take this blend because I'm allergic to milk. And I said, what do you mean? She said, it's got milk thistle in it. I said, ma'am, milk thistle has no milk casein in it. Oh, I know, it wouldn't be called milk thistle if there wasn't milk in it. I said, well, let me tell you this. I was raised on a farm that was a dairy. My dad had a big dairy, and we milked cows. We didn't milk thistles. Now, we would have been a lot better off if we could milk the thistles because they were all over the farm. But we didn't get any milk from those thistles. We got them from the cows. She never called me back. Anyhow, milk thistle. It detoxifies your liver, cleanses your liver. It's a cleansing. Blood sugar is partially regulated in depending, I call this a normalizer. This blend is a normalizer. It makes things normal in all aspects. I used to call it a modulator. What's a modulator? It raises up what's too low and lowers what's too high. That's a modulator. Your exhaust on your car is a modulator of noise, okay? Now, milk thistle, been around for years and years and thousands of years, detoxifies the liver. It's kind of like an intracellular shampoo. And it detoxifies the liver. It addresses your blood sugar. If it's too high, it lowers it. Too low, it raises it. And is a very strong anti-inflammatory. Now, what's inflammation? Everything that you go to see the doctor for, in general, is inflammation. If you get run over by an 18-wheeler, don't go home and take a pill out of a supplement bottle. You go to the ER, get your bones put back together. You see what I mean? And so This is what happens. If I stick my finger with a pen today, what happens in the morning? It's red, swollen, hot, and painful. That's inflammation. Now, it may also be infection, but it's for sure inflammation. It marshals all your white blood cells to the end of that finger to heal it, to see if it can make it well. by the body's defenses. So there we have milk thistle. It cleanses the liver, and you need your liver cleansed, believe me, because it absorbs all the bad stuff you stuff in your mouth. And all the bad stuff that drops on your skin that absorbs through the skin. And it, as I say, normalizes. There's a huge research being done at the University of Minnesota on the effect on blood sugar. See, a lot of people are doing a lot of research now, trying to find a non-toxic way to help people. And that's wonderful. The next ingredient is turmeric. Been used in India for so long, probably 4,000 years. It modulates your immune system. Again, what does that mean? Modulate your immune system means if your immune system is low, it raises it. If it's high, it lowers it. When's it high? Well, a lot of people have what we call autoimmune problems, and that's what it does when it's too high. It helps your digestion. It brings out your enzymes. It brings out your juices so they flow in your stomach, in your mouth, in your intestines, in your duodenum, from your liver, from your pancreas. That's your digestive tract, and it works, and it lubricates, and it helps the function. Again, write down the word normalizer. This is a normalizing blend of herbs, okay? And it treats achy joints. A lot of things in the joints that aren't a disease, it's just they ache. They're inflamed. You're putting all your body on your knees and on your ankles and on your toes. All your body weight pivots on that, and we abuse our joints. You know, maybe dancing around like jumping jacks every once in a while, and that's hard on anybody. But they don't realize it, okay? And on the skin, it is exceedingly good, turmeric is, if it's in a skin preparation, to stop the aging of skin. Now, let me tell you, folks, all my years of practice as an old country doctor, I never had anybody come in and say, Dr. Marvin, have you got something you can give me that will increase my aging? Never had that happen. Never had a soul come in to see me asking for something that would make them age faster. Some of them were aging pretty fast when they came in, but they never wanted more. And that's what the turmeric is. It's a cooking ingredient. It's used in all kinds of things in China and India, and has for years. I've never presented this blend with people from the country of India that didn't know probably more about turmeric than I did, because they've had it all their life. Now, there's a green tea extract, and many people get white-knuckled, turn pale, get incontinent, start to shiver and tremble when they see green tea extract because of the dangerous thing called caffeine. Well, this has got 4 milligrams per tablet of caffeine. That's less than a cup of decaf coffee. Decaf coffee has 15 milligrams per cup. This is 4, which is undetectable by the body. So don't be worried about the caffeine. Energy? Sure, it helps your energy. It helps your stamina. It helps your recovery. If you go out here and start dancing the jig all evening with somebody playing music, you're going to get tired. Well, taking this blend will reduce your recovery time to get back in the game or get back on the dance floor by 2/3. You'll get back 2/3 quicker. You may dance all night. I've had several patients tell me they were so happy with this, they danced all night at so-and-so's wedding. I never did that myself because I didn't see where that was getting me anywhere. Okay? It increases your energy, increases your stamina, and a lot of people, when I say that, said, well, I know it'll increase your energy because there's caffeine. Remember, it's non-detectable. And it also promotes weight loss. Now, I have had a few people in the practice of medicine for 56 years that wanted to gain weight. But I could count them on my one hand. Everybody wants to lose weight, and this will help lose weight. Okay, the green tea extract will help lose weight. Now, there's another one you probably don't realize or know much about. It's called Bacopa. And what it does, it increases the two intracellular enzyme mechanisms called superoxide dismutase. And unless you're a biochemist, you probably haven't heard that in a week. But it's superoxide dismutase that Dr. Joe McCord discovered at Duke University when this whole business started with his blend. Because he found out Bacopa would increase what he had just discovered, and that's the superoxide dismutase pathway. Well, that was good news.
Doc,
yes.
Can you spell that for the audience?
Yes. Bacopa. 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 It increases SOD and catalase production intracellular. Two enzymes you want to have on your side. Okay? The catalase is an enzyme that also Dr. McCord never found because we already knew it was there. You see, in the cell you have three types of enzymes. You have Bacopa, which stimulates the SOD, which is superoxide dismutase, and then you have the catalase, and then you have the glutathione peroxidase. Those three are what keeps you young. But the good news is they will slow down your aging. The bad news is they start to decrease at the age of 25. You see, aging usually clinically starts. It isn't clinical when it starts. It first starts at around the age of 25. We're talking about aging. Of course, you're growing up, but now you're aging, age 25. It transitions to clinical around 35. And 45 is totally clinical. That's when you get up in the morning, look in the mirror, and scares you. You say, what on earth happened to me? Well, you got run over by a truck called aging.
Right.
And if you don't eat the healthy material, you're not going to get any better. You're just going to keep aging. Well, let me tell you, people don't realize it. Genetically, it has been said that we're made genetically to live 150 years. I was involved in genetics for 5 years. Now, I have a picture of a Russian woman that's 147, proven by birth certificate and legal.
Wow.
She's 147. Not taking any pills. That's why she's probably 147. Okay? Anyhow, now here's I've saved this favorite one of mine of the 5. And get ready, it's ashwagandha. Isn't that a great word? Ashwagandha. ASHWAGANDA. And it's a brain food. Now, I know the brains aren't too coveted anymore, but they're still needed. There's a lot of people getting pretty successful that don't have many. And I don't want to get into politics, but we'll go on from there. Anyhow, yeah, this is the brain food. This helps your brain work. And, it helps you sleep. It gives you a calming feeling. Everybody's going around uptight, chewing their nails, eyes bugged out a little bit, hair all fazzed up. I don't know what that style's for, where they quit combing the hair and the hair's sticking in every direction. It just shows you how unsprung they are. Those people are wound up tighter than the 40-day clock. So, anyhow, that's the 5 ingredients, but I like that it's brain food. Now, you eat a lot of stuff that aren't brain food. You eat a lot of food that aren't good for your body, And when we were all hunter-gatherers walking around with a club over our shoulder and picking up vegetables and vegetation and eating it. We were called hunter-gatherers. Right. And the only thing we did was run on to a saber-toothed tiger, and that's why we had the club. But those people ain't practically no meat in those days, because the only meat they had was what they could outrun or throw a rock at. Well, that limited their meat intake. And so those people were pretty healthy, believe me, and strong. But now we aren't in that situation. What?
I've still got my club, Doc.
Have you? Good. It may be quite positive. That means there's blood on the end of it. You know, and that's what we're all uptight about. It's the fight-or-flight syndrome. And this, it will help that syndrome. People, you know what the fight-or-flight is? You come face-to-face with a gorilla tonight, you're either going to get your body remodeled or you're going to outrun him. I wouldn't count on doing the latter. And I wouldn't try to climb a tree faster than he does. So you're going to do fight or flight. So if you're all stressed out and uptight and your blood all goes to your muscles so you can run like a deer, and, you know, that's what's killing us, this stress that we're all under, you know. I talk to people that finish all my sentences. I start to talking to them, and they're so wound up, they're finishing my sentences. Well, they need to relax. They need a tranquilizer about the size of a hockey puck, and that'll get them relaxed enough that they can, you know, talk to you. So that's the ingredients, and this, by Dr. McCord putting a certain amount of each one together in this proprietary mix, they've increased the effectiveness 1,800%. And it's synergism. And that's the whole ingredients of it. Now, I've got a lady that spent 7 months on working on the sealants. See, this is a tablet. And they have to put something in it to cause it to stick together. Because if they didn't, by the time they mailed you the product, it'd all be powder again. So they have to put a sealant. I've got a lady studied those sealants for 7 months. I said, wow. There must be something wrong between your ears. That's in all your pills. Every pill you've got's got a sealant in it.
Yes.
You know. So, anyhow. Now, you wanted me to do the ingredients. There's the ingredients. And if you want me to tell you folks how to take it, it's very easy. You take the bottle, grip it firmly, take the cap off, take the seal off, take the cotton out. Follow me so far? Reach in and get one of those yellow pills, put it in your mouth with some food and some water and swallow. Then put the cap back on the bottle. Now, I've given you all the product training you need.
Yes, you have, and a lot more than just product training. I appreciate your conversation. We have about 1.5 minutes left, Doc, if you have something you'd like to leave us off with.
Well, you know, people say, well, are you selling this for money? Absolutely. I'm doing it for 2 things. You know, here's my question to the people. How happy will you allow yourself to be? Happy physically and happy financially. It's your choice. If you want to go around with a face 18 inches long, sour as a piece of rotten lemon, that's fine. But let me tell you about the opportunity. And people say, don't want to hear anything about money. Don't want to hear anything about money. I'll say, okay, well, right. Money isn't everything, but it ranks up there with oxygen.
Yep.
I can't go to the grocery store and get out of that place without money.
That's right.
Well, anyhow, I'm an old country doctor, and you get a lot of bangs and bruises during those times. I've delivered 2,000 babies, most of them at night, and that's why my hair turned white. And loved every second as an old family doctor. I did everything from appendectomies to gunshot wounds to the abdomen.
Right. So it sounds like you've
there's not enough of you guys around anymore, Doc.
You what?
That's great.
I'm a dinosaur. The old country doctors are all gone by the wayside. The horse and buggy doctor's gone.
Yep. Yeah, I wish we could bring that back,
Doc. That's a sad state, too. Oh, yeah.
Well, see, you know, I just took care of the whole family, and I loved every second of it. I delivered the babies. You know, I've done about 100 weddings. They used to have their old country doctor do their wedding. So I was full coverage because, you know, I did a lot of funerals, too. You're able to. You're licensed to. And so I tell people I'm full service, from the womb to the tomb. I cover it all.
Literally.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great talking with you, Doc. Absolutely fabulous conversation.
You better, if you recorded this, you better give me a way to retrieve it sometime in the future if I get my neck in a crack from all the things I said. Hard telling. It's hard telling whose foot I'm treading on.
Yeah, and that's okay. We all need to get our foot stepped on every so often. We're finishing up the recording right now, Doc. I thank you for coming on, and I will definitely send you a copy of it via email. So thank you, sir.
Okay. I liked doing it, and I enjoyed it, and I hope I told you enough.
Absolutely.
I think so. And thank you, Todd Foster, for joining me as well as my co-host. So for Todd Foster and Doc Marvin, this is Rick Hidalgo. This has been another episode of the House of Hidalgo show on the Estate Radio Network. Thank you, everyone. God bless, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Everybody.